Did your church shut down for the pandemic? Now that you've shut down and you started back up, are you having trouble starting back up? Having trouble getting people to volunteer? Just having trouble making everything work again? Maybe you need some systems approach. We'll talk about that today on Coffee with a Coach. I'm Steve Petty. I have 3 goals for these videos: to help you become a better church leader, to save you time and money, and to help educate, energize, and motivate you to energize and motivate your church. So, what do I mean by understanding and designing systems? Well, every church exists with a variety of systems. There are things going on all the time in your church. Do you understand them all? Each little one is a system in itself, and each little one has a whole system of things that happen that go on within it. You put all those together and you have literally hundreds of systems in your church that you have to operate and understand how they operate and make sure that they operate every single week, all year long. It's not just a matter of opening the doors and we'll have church. Let me give you an example. On a typical Sunday, these are things that may or may not happen in your church to make Sunday morning go on. First of all, before Sunday even comes up, you've got to pick a sermon, a scripture, or a theme. You have to communicate that to musicians. You have to write or select the liturgy. You have to design the bulletin. You have to get the copy to the liturgist and the video team. You have to proof the bulletin, print the bulletin. You have to rehearse and prepare musicians. You have to order flowers. You have to set the table, design the table, change the paraments, prepare for communion if needed, open the church, turn on the lights and open the doors, make sure the restrooms are ready, that there's paper and everything in all the restrooms, turn on heating or air conditioning, put on the coffee, place the bulletins in the narthex, greet members, welcome guests and get their information, conduct the service. Then, after the worship service is over, you have to do the post-worship greeting events, fellowship time. You have to deal with leftover communion elements, throw out all the trash, check the restrooms, process the guest information, process the offering gifts, process the prayer and illness information, check the lights, heating and air conditioning, sound equipment, lock all the doors and windows, and check the parking lot before you leave. That's over 30 things that have to happen just to make Sunday morning come off. And that only takes an hour or two. How many things have to go on in the life of your church every week? Have you thought about them? Each event requires someone to pay attention, to do it, and do it properly. Or it doesn't get done, or it doesn't get done well. If pastors are doing most of these things, and in many small churches pastors are doing 90% of them, then they're not using their time or their people well. And often that will burn out the pastor and frustrate the people. So, understand that your church is an organization. The assumption is that an organization is organized, but often we just assume that everyone knows what to do because they've always done it. But if no one has recently examined the process and defined the system completely, you may want to look at that. One sure way to burn out your people is to ask them to do something and not define the task clearly, not make sure that they understand exactly what they have to do, and when they fail, they get frustrated and they will never work for you again. So, look at everything that goes on in your church. Think of each task or event as a simple system. What do you want to have happen? How well must it be done? What is the process by which it happens? Who must do it? How many people does it take? Does it take a team? Can a single person do it? Are there clear expectations written down, communicated in full? This is what we expect to have happen. This is the result we expect to get. Has there been a training event to help people understand and have hands-on experience? Walk them through it. You can't just expect a liturgist to stand up on Sunday morning, know how to use the mic correctly, know how to read slowly, know how to engage the congregation. They'll just stand up and do an awful job, and everyone will be uncomfortable. Train your liturgists, train your greeters, train your ushers, train everybody that's going to have any kind of contact with people in the church, or especially new people. Often things that aren't working well in the church are simply because they've never been organized and no one has thought it through. Understand the leadership must define the systems needed to fully operate the church. When you create effective systems, everything works more smoothly. People are happier. There is less conflict, and the church is much more likely to experience positive growth. Think about your church. Look at all the systems that operated before the pandemic. Maybe some of those you want to let go, but many of those you probably want to do better than you were doing before. So think of them as systems. What comes first? What comes second? What comes third? What's the end result? Think about the system and how you can train people and make sure that it happens well every time it happens. Well, that's it for today. Think about those things. If you find these videos helpful, I hope you will subscribe to my channel. And if you have questions or comments, please consider adding them below or email me at steve@revstevep.com. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to communicate more effectively with your people. Do 3 things to communicate more effectively. Plus, watch for my new podcast coming out in Lent, the Caffeinated Pulpit. Have a great week. I'll see you next Tuesday.